This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, now it's recording.
Okay, meeting's in session. All right. So you're gonna do the roll call.
Let's do a roll call.
Tasha Shane, absent. Tristan Sanders, absent. Todd Agee,
Here.
Jeremiah Jackson,
Here.
Laura Ball,
Here.
Wendy Ball,
Here.
and Simi Rajan.
Here.
Check.
Okay, so we're gonna go to public comment. Is there any public comment before we
Good
start
face.
today?
Public comment. Let's go.
Yeah, it's right there. If you wanna grab one right on that table over there. Yeah, girl.
I don't see any public comment online.
Give me a comment.
Perfect.
Bring it.
So then we will go right to our discussion items. So we're gonna start with the choral point presentation.
Do you mind if I ask a question before we get rolling?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Couldn't find a spot in the agenda to do that, so I'm
Thank
going to
you.
do it now.
Let's do it now.
I want to really suggest that this committee clearly has in its mind what its goal and mission is. Okay, I thought it was to advise the RID group on items that have to do with recreation, in the Cove.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt, and I tried to mention this last meeting, that I feel like we need to have conclusions to some of our thoughts during our discussions with some sort of an agreement and then a vote on that to advance.
Yeah.
And I think it's particularly at least obvious to me when I read the minutes from last meeting. There were, first of all, I was surprised where they came from. And then secondly, there was items in there that I didn't agree with, but yet we never voted on. But if you just blankly read the minutes, it looks like we were in concert with those items. So I think it's very important that we vote on recommendations rather than just discuss them.
And I totally agree. I think that the first meeting was a little bit of a snafu because we all weren't really sure what we were doing. But now we are going to start voting on things to take it to the board from here on out. And so our agenda setting meeting, we thought these were the things that were attainable that's good to start with. And then from there, we'll vote on those things on what we actually present to the RID board as a committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if we could continue that, I think a good example to start with was we had a good discussion about charging the planes those overnight fees. And I think we're all on board that yes. But then I thought during this 2 months that it's been since that meeting, there was no call to action. We had a nice conversation, but did we say, let's officially do this and let's find a way to make things happen?
Well, and actually we have. So we ordered.
Update me.
So
Anna.
yeah. So at our agenda setting meeting, essentially what we did is we ordered. I don't know if Chris ordered them, but we were talking about ordering locked mailboxes. You know, the little mailbox you just lock, and that way you put a post instead of like the airport mailboxes that are super expensive, like $3,500. Not worth it. So we can just get a couple of those locked mailboxes that you can get on Amazon or whatever, and they'll just dig a post, put it in, and then they can slip the little envelopes in there. So that's already being done.
And so when do we see actually money coming in?
That's on that man.
So it's in the motion and it's happening. So we've actually kind of done something.
Yes, we have. So that's the first
Nice work, you guys.
I might add that Chris reached out to me and I provided him some input for 4 or 5 airports in the vicinity. And that idea with the locked mailbox is a very, very common approach. So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like we should have buttoned that up. So like Jerry said, let's make, have actions.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, that being said, Coral Point presentation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Totten. Where would you like me to stand so people online can hear?
Right over here, I
If
think
you want to
it's,
go over there by
is,
the mic, that would be lovely.
And there's a button on there to turn it on.
How about that?
sound.
How about that?
Yeah.
Perfect.
My name is David Totten, and I'm here today with Wailaki, Ill River Wailaki. And my heritage is actually Wintu, which is a neighboring tribe. And yet our tribes intermarried and intermingled a lot. And this land here was part of the tribal lands. We didn't have like really defined absolute like we do now with states and countries and stuff. It was a little more fluid. But the heritage is really, really deep, the thousands of years of being here. And as you can see, Coral Point is a land of bidden. So the people have been there for many, many years. And in Shelter Cove proper, there's been remains found of the native people over the years too. So it has a really rich heritage. And our people not only just survived, I know when I was in school, we looked like cave people, kind of, where we were just barely surviving, but our people thrived living in this land here. And it provided the food, the shelter, the medicine, clothing, everything they needed right here. And the land has been transformed a little bit, and it'd be our goal to try to bring some of that back. Who I have with me today is Rhonda Hardy, and her family is direct descendants of this area, and she's in Bryceland. And Ben Schill is a historian as well as a language revivalist for the Wailaki people and has a huge amount of history. Yeah. Kitty Lynch, who is also a scribe and working to bring the language back. And we have Global, my cousin, who is our chief at this time, president of our board. We have a 501c3, and so he's the president of the board. We were never really part of a reservation, and our people, our grandparents, either escaped the reservations and came back to the land. And so they integrated with the white people, as you can see. And so we still have a huge heritage, and our roots go really, really deep. But one of the things we really thrive on is our cultural heritage. And I'm going to have Ben Schill come up right now and read a little story from Wailaki people that actually concern this area.
Thanks, Diana. I'll explain that this story was told by a fellow named Bryson Charlie, an Indian who lived in Salmon Creek. And he, in 1908, told Sally Bell, well, he told a series of stories to the anthropologist Pliny Earl Goddard. So I sort of shortened this one, but because it's about abalone woman, I thought it was appropriate for Shelter Cove. And it goes, Eagle was lonely. He was looking for a woman. He wanted a wife. He looked all around his home in Hayfork. No woman. Then he flew west to Mad River. No woman. Eel River. No woman. South Fork. No woman at all. No woman there. Over the ridge, Eagle saw the ocean. There he saw Abalone woman. Eagle flew down to her. Abalone woman was beautiful, looking out to the west, combing her hair. She said, I don't want to marry. She said, I don't want a man. Eagle was mad. He flew off All the way home, he flew. At Hayfork, he gathered flint. He filled a bag with flint. Then he flew back to Avalonic Woman. The sack was heavy. Eagle was worn out. Avalonic Woman said, I don't want you. I don't want to marry. Eagle was mad. He whipped Avalonic Woman with fire. And that's what made the red streak on her shell. He flew back to the atoll. The bag was heavy. And he quit right there. He threw the flints out to Salmon Creek, and they're still. Caught a gopher to eat, and he said, I am no longer a person. I am Eagle. That is all. So I would explain that in a lot of these stories, the spirit person decides to be, who is an animal, decides to be the animal itself. And these stories describe the area. They describe the rivers and so on and so forth, and the people kind of would follow that. They knew the country. So there, in the end, Eagle is transformed into the eagle that we know, eating gophers. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Part that I enjoy about that story is the fact that my native heritage comes from Hayfork, and so well connected to Silver Cove. And my grandmother lived up at Four Corners when I was little, and I got to spend a lot of time with her. And she was one that taught us that if we look at an abalone, it looks pretty plain. But if we sit and ponder on it, like we do in all of nature, we look a little deeper and we can see the beauty that surrounds us always, And so Coral Point is a real significant part of kind of bringing our heritage back. And our goal would be to have a place where we could have our grandchildren and even ourselves have a place for ceremony and the things that we're missing in our world. And so it's a perfect location. I don't think it'd ever be built on, but we have some ideas that we'd like to accomplish. And there's been a lot of changes out here over the years, as you guys can see. And a couple of those goals would be to, we have people on the tribal committees and the board that are part of Cal Poly that are doing native food restorations. And we would like to have Coral Point as a place we could start to reintroduce native foods for our people. And for everyone, actually, and be an example. You guys have in RID ownership a lot of acres of greenfield, and if we could use a little example and try to bring and restore back native species, I think that would be huge. We also needed a place to do ceremonies, and I'll play a video here for you in a minute. On October 8th, 2022, just as we were completing the MOU, we did a blessing of the land and brought in dancers from Cove, which are part of our relatives as well. And we did a blessing ceremony, but because we don't have a place to do much ceremony, we ended up going to the next door property owned by Michelle Bushnell to find a place that we could barbecue and eat and finish out the day. So another big thing is that our coastline has changed over the years, and I'm sure that's happened over the thousands of years. But abalone, as you can see, was a big part of our heritage, and then the shell mounds, a lot of mussels, a lot of shellfish. The coastline is eroding pretty rapidly, and part of that is due to the fact there's no bull kelp. The bull kelp help keep waves down. We're working with a group at Cal Poly that might be able to help us we introduced old kelp along the coastline here, which would be a really big experiment, but it would really help to restore the ecological benefits of the coastline here. And if it worked, it could be used up and down the coast. And in doing that, we would hope to bring back the abalone to a thriving community. We've been working over the last couple of years doing urchin reduction, and we've worked with Fish and Wildlife to keep track of what we're doing with that. And it hasn't been like a big official thing like they're doing in Mendocino. We just do it as a small group. And so we, as you can see, struggle with technology. You can see the age of us is about 90 to 80. So we would,
Whoop. That was ironic. That was ironic, yeah.
That's a sign right there. We had a painting done by one of our helpers, and that was kind of like a plan for the future of Cove Point. And it's hard to see there, and I know
What's that?
we could do better some of it. But
Put it
Exactly.
no, that's perfect. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go.
Can I go up and take a look?
Yeah.
And do you have that page? So in doing this, what we're looking at is we're
Yeah,
like
Simmy.
to not disturb the soil much with anything we do there because it is like sacred ground. One of the things that we have is state parks is willing to donate all of the redwood that we would need to build a fence and any other little things. And so our first hope is to be able to have a dance area and a place that we could cook seafood, mussels, and stuff we get from the ocean, like our heritage would show. And to start to bring back a little bit of the restoration. We've had botanists there that identified a lot of native species of plants as well as non-native. And we started to remove the ice plant by hand, but again, we didn't make much progress. We're working at it, but it grows faster than we could keep up. And so there's times we might be able to ask for some help from you guys to help us on the journey that we're looking towards. And so also Rhonda is really sharp on this interpretive work, and she's working a lot with state parks on interpretive science through the state parks of the Wailaki plan. So you want to come up and kind of discuss the idea with that, and then we'll play a quick video of
Awesome.
our sacred dance, and we'll take questions, okay?
Used to that. So, we've been working with state parks. We're redoing the signs between Richardson's Grove and Burlington. And we also work with the community parks and putting signages up there. And so we thought with the, what we're doing here, we'd like to have a few signs. Wherever we decide, is kind of the opening where we come in, we'd have a bigger sign. And then if we actually could do the bark houses, we would have small signs that would be like, it would happen in Wailaki also, and English. And so the bigger sign so far, what we came up with was, welcome to Coral Point, part of the Wailaki ancestral territory. We honor their connection to the sacred place, which has provided abundant food from the sea for thousands of years. Please enjoy and respect this beautiful area and help protect it for future generations. And then we have some Wailaki language in there. And the top of the sign, I was thinking, is my heart is glad you have come, which is Isji will call me in Wailaki, and we have that in the 2 languages. So that's where we're at. Thank you very much.
And so with that, Chris, could you play that little video? And this is what we did. We didn't have that great big group of people like we'd like to do in the future. So if that video is available, I see we've got mailbox.
I know, yeah.
I'm so glad that I'm not the only one that struggles with it. each one of these things are a historical significance, so it gives us goosebumps to feel connections and to do this kind of stuff. And again, our people, this is a coral point, 2022 October 8th. That quick clip of kind of what we're trying to bring back to Silver Cove. And again, with the signage and our visitors educational place, that we could bring kids from school and adults and kind of show how our people lived, and we could relearn a lot of what we've lost over the generations. So
Great.
we're ready for questions or whatever comments.
Thank you for your presentation.
Oh,
What is the name of your nonprofit?
Eel River Wailaki,
Thank you.
we started in 2006.
the answer is Eel River Wailaki.
Is there a name for that specific dance or?
It's the group is the Feather Dancers, and the name of that dance right there would probably have a different name than what we gave it, but it's the Coral Point Blessing Dance is what I call it. And each dance has a story behind it, and so the story is a little different than what we're interpreting as, but for us, that was the blessing for the property, and the use through the MOU was being finished right then. And so it was like our celebration of having a connection to that. And
Thank you.
I have a question on the food part of it, like the mussels and whatnot. Is there any concerns with fish and wildlife, or I mean, or is it just sort of like, I'm not sure if there's any regulations around it.
one of the things with the food for us is that we have to follow the fish and game regulations. We can't do things on our own. And that includes urchin removal. And when they set the urchin removal kind of regulations, they were afraid that the intertidal area would be damaged by a lot of people just going out and smashing stuff. So you can only get, I think it's 5 pounds apiece or 10 pounds apiece of urchins, purple urchins. And even though they're invasive, that's very limited. But if we go a little bit deeper to where the water is there all the time, we can take unlimited, but that includes a wetsuit and a lot more work for us. And what we've done with the urchins is we've integrated them into our gardens inland, and it's really, really good fertilizer. And when they've been smashed and munched up, so it isn't like in our people, nothing ever went to waste. And so we're trying to keep that that kind of thing alive in everything we do there. So there's abundant mussels right now, and so we feel that we could, there's a good harvest. I think I forget the numbers. We could do 30 a piece a day or something. So that's plenty. And again, the future goals are to try to bring back Babylonian folk kelp and all the stuff like it used to be.
That's what I was going to ask you about. I'm intrigued by the reintroduction of the bull kelp. What have you done so far? You said it's already
We've
started.
To and have one of the girl that did the painting is not native, but we've taken her under our wing because she could do that. And she's a historian. She's a young woman at HSU or probably that is a literary. I think she's in graduate school as a literary artist or whatever you call it. So she's looking historical kind of things. And she's connected with the biology department up this spring to get some of them to come down and do a field trip and kind of see if we could start working towards how to facilitate reintroduction. They are successful in Humboldt Bay, but on an open coastline, it's a lot more difficult because there's a lot more big waves and you see the storm. So there has been success in other countries. I understand where they use big ropes and anchor them off shoreways, and the sea urchins can't stick to them to eat to cope with a baby. And that can be a start maybe that we can try to use. So these are things in progress, but we haven't actually like done big stuff yet.
Taking away the urchins,
What's that?
taking what
Yeah.
we can away the urchins.
We're trying to do as best we can, so when we do the urchin removal, 2 of us will be in wetsuits, so we can do a lot more. And a lot of folks are just in rubber boots, and we do 5-gallon bucketfuls at a time. And I'm not sure it's made a difference, but there are less in that area than there was a couple of years ago. There's that whole boundary or balance between human influence and nature, but we're trying to find that balance in what we're doing, and we feel like when nature's out of balance, native people help bring the balance back through history. So you can see with cultural fire was a great example. And so our people were stewards of the land, and we feel like the stewards of the land if we don't do something big, like a casino. Some people have said, it's like, you guys build a casino there? Well, we thought about it, but I think we'll get the kelp going first.
Thank you. Thank you.
We feel that with the right kind of balance to manipulate nature to find its balances with us, and part of our heritage.
I think that'd be so exciting.
I want to compliment you on all these ideas. I was involved with a kelp restoration project and the abalone restoration project and the urchin removal project down in Southern California years ago.
We need you.
It's tough. It can be done. I was working through the University of California, Irvine at the time. I was just a young kid. But I applaud you. I think that the urchins, I agree with you. They're a grazer, so they're going to prey upon the young kelp. The abalone, I've always thought the big thing there was the humans, not the Native Americans, but the other group. Yeah, I remember being shocked seeing the divers coming here, just eliminating the abalone.
Working on fishing games just over the last few weeks.
Anyway, I want to just compliment. I love this idea. I think it's great. I think it's going to be a good thing for this community. So thank you for your energy.
And all these things that we're talking about, we would love to have help if you guys have the time and energy, and like we would like to involve more community efforts on some of these things, like ice plant removal. It's not easy. And we made progress, and then we go back, and then it starts growing again. And so we have ideas to keep the ice plant on the ocean side because it's helping reduce the erosion. But on the grassland side, our botanists say that if we remove the urchin, there's native grasses that will move into that a little bit, and especially if we burn it. And so we got future plans for that too, small cultural burns. And again, having a specialist that's a native food specialist on the board is going to be a big thing in the future. But we're going to Cal Poly and the people there with kelp restoration, you might be a great asset for that.
Still have my wetsuit.
Well, thank you for the compliments too. You can see we have a passion for what we're doing. And so we would like to continue moving forward, but we kind of, again, things are slow at this point, and so we would like to pick up the pace this spring a little bit with some of the things we're doing. And again, we could use R&D's help with the stump removal, but we hate to remove the stumps until we get all of the fencing materials available, which Redwood State Parks is
Are we allowed to comment?
Public comment, go ahead.
Yes.
I just want to say again, I appreciate what you guys are doing and just everything that you brought to the table today. One thing, I was actually at Coral Point yesterday talking to a friend about maybe having like classes of how to use the sea urchins for food. Because I know for myself, I would love to do that. I love foraging. And if we did something even maybe in your guys' like cooking area that you're talking about, coming and teaching people like how to harvest them, how to, I don't even know, break them open, how to get that, what part is edible, what not. I think would get a lot of people out there maybe helping take care of the urchins
And
in a
that's,
way that's beneficial for the humans as well.
that's one of our main goals, is to have the community. And so when we're teaching and reviving these cultural, everyday things, it helps us to revive it too. And so, no, that would be huge, but again, it's hard to do on a field of grass, so we would like to set up a little bit of stuff, like a redwood log that's been cut on top, not really like a table, but something where people would use. So we could have a place to do some cooking and a little fire pit kind of a thing. And then like, not only adults, but children too, and show them, because seaweeds, there's a lot of things that came from the ocean. Like I said, our people thrived and had dances. So that means they had a little extra time, and they had beautiful decorations. In fact, the abalone has been found all the way out into the Great Basin. And so there's also a sacredness that comes with this, to where, kind of like that whole thing about the church that surrounds us every day, and it's just amazing to be part of, And so it really brings out that, I don't know, the feeling of connectedness. That's what I'm thinking. And so each one of you here that have lived here for a while, you feel that connectedness to the land and the people and all that. So you can imagine after thousands of years living here, how that connection, how deep it goes. So, that's kind of what we still feel. And yes, the educational part of the food and other things, like there's grasses that we're growing here, and the berries there are natural blackberries. They're like the original blackberries. So blackberries need a little bit of abuse, and the berries need to be picked or they stop producing. So now they're very low production. So if we start abusing them a bit and cutting them back, they'll start producing, and those are the original blackberry bushes. So that's a big thing.
So what is the number one thing you would like this group you would like to see us do that could help
I think it's
promote?
time to support our endeavors as we had kind of, I know this is hard to see, and someday we'll have stuff that goes up on the screen better, but we had like a 1 to 3 year plan, which would be a fencing area, and then to remove some of the invasive species of plants, and then to create a cooking area and a dancing area. Those are all very simple. All it takes is a couple logs that you guys can maybe find that we could sit on logs. We don't need fancy dancing. And then that could start the interpretive signage as soon as the fence is done. So I think the fence is the first thing. Removing the stumps and getting a fence and interpretive signs. And then work towards a cooking area and a dancing area. And those go together. Like I say, kind of like a church, before you eat, you gotta dance. And when you dance, it gives you goosebumps and makes you feel really good about stuff.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say, just let us know. We'll be in contact for when you want those stumps removed, and I'll get our staff to do that. And we can also contribute with maybe our mini X or backhoe to remove the ice plant if that would work.
That would be huge. So as spring comes, we'll start coordinating these things. And Rhonda's been really working closely with the state parks, and they're very excited about helping us. And so I think the next thing probably on the agenda is to have a field trip with you folks and state parks and maybe the California people and do like a thing at Cove Point and come up with a little bit of game plan for this summer, spring and summer. And so maybe we'll start to set up that meeting and be in touch with you guys through the board. That works with you. Does that work with us?
I have a question about, is there a possibility of offering like tours or guided tours, obviously, for a group of visitors, and maybe you could sell tickets to fundraise?
Maybe so, yeah. It's, yeah, those things are really open to that. I know there's grant funding that we're working on for some of these projects, and how are grants going right now?
Slow.
The grants are a little slow right now, and so we don't want to depend on that as our only sense, but like you say, some fundraiser thing would be huge.
Do you have any idea what a cost estimate would be for the fence at all, just roughly?
What is it?
For the fence being the first step?
I think so, yes, because once that's done, it kind of defines our little area. And there's a beach access right near there, but that isn't on the Coral Point property. We find out it's on another piece of property. And there's talk about fixing up a beach access too. But the fence would define our area, so we could start with the interpretive signage to kind of show the plan ahead, and maybe something like this there too.
Do you have any funding for that fence? Do you have any idea how much?
The funding is a donation from state parks for the materials, and we might be able to use an inmate crew, Cal Fire inmate crew to help us with that. There again, I'm not sure. It would be through RID to see if that's in their scope. But some of the invasive species removal might be in that scope. So, yeah, that would probably be a project day through volunteers for the most part. And the fence again would be like the old fashioned fences on the old ranches, so there's no posts in the ground, it'll be like this. And so we don't want to dig in the ground and disturb things that are under the ground. And so that would be the plan.
Well, the big thing, in my mouth, the big thing with grants is that you gotta have buy-in. You gotta have buy-in from the community.
Yeah.
And you gotta sell
them.
Yeah. And it's enormous, and you can do it.
I think we got the support. Yeah.
We're partners with the Trees Foundation too, and they've helped us a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
With grants.
Mm-hmm.
What Rob is saying is we're in partnership with the Trees Foundation, and they've been really, really great help with grants and keeping us going in the right direction. So a lot of support from groups like that.
And I think the pioneers too, we could maybe help you throw an event where we could help raise money to start this project. So I'd love to talk to you guys too when the meeting's over, and I'll give you my information and we can kind of talk about doing something maybe this spring, summer.
Pioneers of I can tell you.
Oh yeah.
Playground.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, we'll continue our conversation.
Yeah, please do.
Together.
That's great.
Let's just.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah, let's just
One
keep
quick
moving
question,
forward.
what's a bark house?
And
What's a bark house?
just the shelters that they had were not lumber, of course, but there was giant slabs of redwood, and some of the bark was very thick, and it would be a little bit underground, but then that would be their shelter for the smoke.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
And believe it or not, in winter like this, they were still warm and cozy.
Yeah. Good insulation, huh?
And we will be able to get that material too from the park.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
State parks also will donate all that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This
Yeah.
is
You
really
have your
enlightening.
contact information?
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll do
Email.
that with Jessica.
Okay,
for all the
okay.
contact information.
Jessica can send it to all of us. Awesome.
There is one comment or question online too from Pam Brenner.
Hi, Pam Brenner here. I have to say that's one of my favorite places in Shelter Cove to walk my dog. Is it disrespectful to do that on this land?
No, it's more than welcome. That's the whole point of being able to use the land. And even though there would be a fence there, it would still be available for the community. We just have to, but no, dog walking there, that's perfect, you
Okay,
know?
thank you.
And by fence, Pam, you can't see the poster as well as us, but it's just a split rail fence.
Yeah.
I needed to double check on that because I got a little scared of fence, but it's just a little split rail fence.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments or anything we need to do?
Good stuff.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Diana.
All right, so I think this
One
is a
check
lot
mark
to
on
take in
this
as a
page.
board, but it's really great. So I say we put this on our discussion items for next meeting, and that way we can come up with any ideas that we have and discuss them then. We have a little bit of time to simmer on them.
We're all good to follow up on this.
Yep.
Thumbs up
Mhm.
for everyone.
Absolutely.
Double
Yeah,
thumbs
yeah,
up.
we'll get their
Cool.
information. We can ask any
I
questions
mean,
over
yeah.
next month.
It sounds
Yeah.
great.
Okay,
Sounds fantastic.
perfect.
Sounds something like the community would want.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
So just so I understand, I put on it as an action item, it's.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, yeah.
And again, if it's an action item, it's up to something we could bring a representative out to answer questions and work with you. There
Yeah.
are committees within the River Wailaki that will be working.
We can just leave that if that's okay.
Please
Oh,
do.
that would be great.
That would be
Yeah.
so great.
So I think what we should probably do as a committee is kind of think about what things are possible to do first and kind of make a hierarchy of what is possible, what's attainable, and what we can do to help, speed up this process. So that would be my 2 cents.
Agreed. Maybe an ice plant removal day
Mhm.
to get people to the site to see the poster and get excited and get
Yeah.
Jerry in his wetsuit.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
just to see Jerry in a
I mean, come
I
on.
also really like the idea of workshops, like maybe using it for fertilizer or eating them or, not vegan, but using them for fertilizer, stuff like that. That could be really great. So maybe like kind of incorporating those workshops. So,
As
okay.
long as community isn't going to be like, I'm glad Pam asked about walking the dog, but I can see, a little bit of people maybe, oh, that's where I like to go. But you know what? There were people before them. And as long as
Right.
everyone is on
Well,
board.
and I think it's our job too. It's our responsibility to educate those people too on this is okay. This is what we want. This is what's acceptable. This is what isn't. This is how you can help. So, yeah. Thank you.
Fun.
Okay, I just wondered if you had, as you move forward, like what you're saying, the urgent movement, all this kind of thing, that'd be huge and great. So what we've done is have a day with low tide, do urchins, gather mussels, go up and start to remove the ice plant and then cook some food. And so we spend a day.
Perfect. Thank you.
We need like a fire pit.
Yeah. Fire pit.
That might be number to cook it.
Okay.
Fire pit. So we'll do some action items next time on that. So the second thing we have on our discussion items is the survey. So during the agenda setting meeting, the survey was kind of hard to do because there's just so many things on the objectives and then the sub too. So there's the objectives and then the sub objectives. There's just so many.
I felt as
to
soon as
put
we left, we should not
in a
have dumped that
survey.
on Jess.
So-
We should have
Yeah, so I think
Come
what we need to do is just kind of go, and we can even maybe just do the objectives. I don't know what you guys think instead of the sub objectives, but just to kind of get the community's input on what they think is. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
And as a group's input on where
Yeah.
our focus is.
Exactly. So I'm thinking like maybe 6 to 10 things that they vote on to start with, and then we can always do more surveys. So we can start with one, and then the next month we can do another round, and the next month do another round. But I'm thinking 1 to 10. How important do you think this is? And that's what we ask in a survey. So just for them to, scale it out 1 to 10, how important is
How about if like 2 of us get together and put this survey together so it's not on Jessica's palette? Because I mean, she's got a lot to do. We do have some responsibility to make these things happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's get a couple of us or few. I don't care how many of us want to get together and do it. Set a date, and we'll get together and make the survey so they can send it out. And when is our deadline for the last day that we
Jessica,
can?
when does the bill go out?
Short month, I don't
When do
know.
we have to have it?
Around the 8th, give or take a day.
So if we got that done by the 8th, the 7th, you'd be able to put it in the, what do we need?
I want more.
So how many, what day would you?
Or
4th is a Wednesday.
the 4th be okay?
Okay.
Or is that out of time? Yeah, okay.
At the latest.
Okay, yeah.
But I agree with you, Todd. Let's.
And we'll also do like an online survey too, but this is just for the people that don't have,
Well,
you know, those
it's just
capacities.
starting to make people
Yeah.
to be part of it.
And we talked about too, in the agenda setting meeting, you can have like a QR code at Jibbo and all the establishments where they can scan it and take the survey.
Oh, cool.
So we can do that. We'll have it in the bill, and then we'll also have it like on Facebook and stuff where they can click a link and take the survey. So
I'd also be interested in us as a group going through this list and seeing where all these things lie within our priorities, in addition to the community.
well, why don't we do this? Why don't we go through the goals maybe first, and then we can figure out kind of, and then maybe as a team of people, we can figure out the sub-objectives. You want to do that, and we can kind of rate them, and then maybe the objectives, you guys can go through and kind of fine tune what there needs to be handled first. Okay, so I think, and quite frankly, this is on our list next, the golf course. I think we can all agree that that's an easy, well, not an easy thing, but there are some things in the golf course that I think are easy too.
I think
if our
the
goal-
golf course is a huge, big thing, and if we're going to start on the golf course, I got tons of questions to ask right off the bat.
Yeah.
You
If
know what
our
I mean?
goal is to
Are
make
we
money
gonna
for
go
the
there?
red.
I'll start asking the questions right now. You know what I mean? Are we planning? When are we planning to sand the greens this year? Is the sand been ordered? Do we have a
Well, are we
schedule?
all in agreement that fixing the tee boxes is high on the list?
Okay, so what we talked about,
Start
well,
there.
just kind of, maybe we can kind of do both at the same time. What we talked about in the agenda setting meeting was your idea, Todd, to move Bullhorn.
Yeah.
That big one, and the tee boxes.
Yeah.
So those were like the two things that we talked about. And then that we can do right away,
So
right?
Right away?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? I don't know that we've all agreed to get rid of the shorten the short golf course already.
No. Just move we were talking about moving hole one because it was in the way of that house. And so we were just saying that as grid, that would be something that we could start with. That would be.
I don't know that we're all in agreement that that's a good idea.
A yearly hit list of things at the golf course, maintenance that will be done all the time. And then enter a hit list of things that we would like to do and prioritize those. I think when we do that, the greens are a yearly thing that gets done. And I just want to make sure that we are in line with that because it has to do with the timing of the temperature and trying not to make it happen, you know what I mean, during Memorial Day. I mean, we need to set a schedule for that to happen. Then the hit list, on the top of the hit list is fixing the tee boxes. Those two things, I believe that if we can I can get volunteers together to help with that. I think that we should try to move forward, but I want to make schedules and set times for this. And I know that that's part of Chris's thing, you know what I mean? But those are the two things, the sanding of the greens and the redoing of the tee boxes are, I think, essential to be done immediately. The change in hole one, I do not think is immediate hit list thing. There's several other things that are on in my mind that are on the list of things that I would like to transfer from the district's responsibility to a more volunteer group so that there's areas that a volunteer group would take care of and we wouldn't have to put time in for the RID to open up more time.
And let me just add that there are a lot of people that are willing to volunteer their time and understand that the RID don't have the time, but we do, and we're willing to do it.
And also, there's plenty of invasive species all over there that can be gotten rid of. So I think that when we start moving towards the golf course, these two things I think that we should move towards right away. And I'd like to see Chris have those things done. I doubt that the sand has been ordered, has it?
Why would we need more sand? There's more sand.
You have to sand the greens. Yeah, when we plug the greens, there needs to be sand for that. So that's
Are there not still 4 bags? There might still be 4 bags. Either way, I would like to say that the boxes are more important than the greens right now because the greens are okay and the boxes are unbearable. So I would like to focus first on the box and then the greens. The boxes are miserable.
I agree
I mean,
totally.
I
with
walked
you,
in
but I
2
think-
years ago when I
but
moved
think
here. I
if
was
we
like,
can get
what's
it
with
all
the golf
done
course?
in a couple of days,
Mhm.
if we organize and get volunteers together to do it. I think that
And there's
they
an
It sounds
walk
like it's
hand in
something we
hand,
can
you
do
know
at
what I
the
mean?
same
But the
time.
green, I mean, the
Yeah.
tee boxes are essential to be done. They're an embarrassment for the golf course.
And we
to be
did talk
honest with
about
you.
that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We were talking about like non-maintenance, just what we talked about in the last meeting, which was full on tee boxes and yeah.
And in addition, I think that the tee box on 5 needs to be fixed because the blue-white boxes are now, for some reason, not being used. Because what is the story there? Someone didn't want to water up on the. I don't know what the background is, but the scorecard has us shooting at this area and everyone's shooting at that area. And so everyone who's turning in a scorecard is turning in an illegitimate wrong scorecard. And so that needs to be fixed for the USGA, for any scorecard to be turned in to be correct.
Do you guys want to just be on the golf committee, you two, and kind of take that over and
I would,
figure out
I would like to
what?
do that, and
such
then
a
we can
thing.
try to put some sort
Yeah,
of
like
presentation
if you guys
together that's
wanna
more
knock it
organized
out.
than just talking about
Yeah.
all the things. I do
We
have
could
2
come up
things
with
that I
a
would
big-
like
I
to
think
talk
that's what
about
we
with
need.
Chris, though,
Yeah.
before, and now that I have Mr. Franklin here, I want to mention these 2 things. First thing is event prep for the Irish games, so that the greens are in good shape, cut, and I would like to see that we'd have a plan for event prep, you know what I mean, as part of our usual ones.
Is that the 22nd?
What's that? That's the 22nd. And then I'm going to enter a new thing into our thought process only because Franklin's here. I'd like to see a walking path on the golf course. It would be nice to have a place on the golf course that's not soggy for the carts. You know what I mean? I think the general idea is a good idea. You know what I mean? And how we'd facilitate that would be a group project again. But I think that that's something that would be nice. It would be nice for the walkers also that walk all along the airport, which is not something we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But that's just a suggestion. So I'm sorry to throw those in there, but I just wanted that, especially with Bill here, because you know what I mean? I know that he could help us with that if he felt inclined to do so. Yeah.
What else do you have on your hit list for the golf course? Low-hanging fruit, stuff we can
What's that?
actually take care of.
Well, the reset of 5 that we've got there. I would like to also see, there's a couple places that I think we did a really good job on last year on not cutting to make it a little better, but the setup for spring, I think is something that the golfers, we should all agree on how we want to have the edges cut. Last year they left, I know it's a minor thing, you guys, but they left the tall grass on the edges so that the ball wouldn't roll out of bounds, which is a big problem around here when you're playing golf. It's just a little bit of a difficulty. So
Which is one of the things when we get a group, because we had 7 ladies playing golf last week. So there's a men's league and a women's league now. So people are playing golf. The out of bounds needs to be defined. So when there's weeds in front of where you're allowed to be hitting it, then it makes you feel like you hit a bad ball, but really you didn't. We've got a fair amount of crew with weed whackers. Is it okay? Can we have a work on the golf course day where we all come with our stuff and clean up the course? Because I feel like I've heard that was taken away at one point.
No, recently there was like a agreement, like an MOU type form that the board approved for volunteer work on the golf course. So I would just, if you're gonna have like a volunteer work party or whatnot, I would just have you kind of sign that. It's kind of a hold harmless agreement just for liability.
And Chris, you're in support of that. I know that previous general managers have not been in support of that, but you are in support of getting volunteers out here. And okay. So I knew that he was.
That's so great because we want to be able to help.
Well, in our agenda setting meeting, we were talking about how much revenue this could potentially bring in if we just do the right thing. So that's why we definitely wanted to bring this up in this meeting and talk about what we can do. But it seems like there's so much to do that we kind of just
set up
need to.
we will set up a,
No,
like
no,
I
no,
said, a
no.
yearly
No,
schedule
yeah,
that we
do
talk
it.
about.
Yeah.
I would like to get some more information on what's being used on the golf course as far as time and money, time more than money. I don't, you know what I mean? But just to see how we break out our hours and how we can help the RID with volunteers to re-support, you know what I mean? So less time's put in on some things and they can put more time on others, most notably the hit list that we'll make.
Yeah.
And I've been reading a bunch of grants, and there is a grant up to $7,000 to $10,000 to get a consultant to come out and look at the golf course and give you a game plan, a master plan for how to maintain the golf course. So if that's something down the road that would be worthy, I happen to know of a great grant that would help. Just put us in line, give us a master plan. That being said, has there ever been a Parks and Recs person at the table that had a sign, like there's the water guy and the electric guy? Has there ever been a Parks and Recreation head of?
Chris, give us, Chris, can you
Oh, that
tell us
can't be
about your
Jessica.
time here at the golf?
Is it? I mean, I know, call me a newbie, but it seems overwhelming to have a golf course and no one in charge of it.
Wendy? Chris at one time represented the golf course. He worked in the clubhouse that was there.
Okay. Yeah, there was a clubhouse, it was the pro shop, where the community clubhouse is now. It used to be like the Nikki's bar and then the pro shop. There was, his name was Aragorn. He was kind of like the guy, he wasn't considered a Parks and Rec director, but he was in charge of the maintenance on the golf course, and that's all he did. I think that Rid even sent him to Rutgers or somewhere to learn how to manage golf course.
A golf course.
Yeah, but that was a short-lived time in the early 2000s. I'm not really sure exactly what happened to end it, but yeah.
Is there, and I know you're redoing the org chart a little bit, is there a vision to have a Park and Rec director?
No, we haven't gotten that far.
No, because of a salary issue, I imagine. I mean, I don't know. But it would be really cool if someone like worked at the clubhouse and could rent things out and
I don't think that was profitable at the time. We did have all those things, didn't we, when you had it? Didn't we have carts rental?
Yeah.
Was that previous or post Cindy, the Trips owning it?
The Trips managed the cart rental part, so that was kind of, we were like the middleman, kind of that, right? And we just took the green fees, basically.
So many ways the golf course can make money. I mean, there's so many ways. Selling golf balls, selling towels, selling things with the logo.
I was going to say, I'd like us to get back on track, and it seemed like we were on item 2, their survey, and it seemed like we had a due date, and we were going to come up with a few people to volunteer to come up with a survey. Why don't we go ahead and do that, and then move on? And golf course, I kind of like the idea of a subcommittee to come up with focal points to push. But again, that's item 4.
So let's get back on track and say definitely the golf course should be on the survey. And then let's, if Todd and Wendy, you guys are okay with being on the subcommittee for this, then maybe you can make up a presentation or whatever you need to do for the next meeting and maybe get with Chris on some of these items in between then and now. Okay.
For the survey,
Who wants to help work on the survey? Or does it want to be a full team project? I don't know.
I think what we can do is go through the goals and then the objectives and the actions are kind of like, let's see. So like, the golf course is one. I think that's definitely important. The hiking trails, beach access. I mean, there's a lot here trying to figure out.
It seems like what I would do is I would take this strategic plan and at least break out the goals. And ask the community, if you had to prioritize these, which would you put first, which is the most important. And that's kind of why we're doing the survey. And then, I kind of hesitate of adding objectives because of then you're overwhelming a poor person taking the survey.
Yeah, I agree.
But I would include maybe a space saying, what do you think would be a key objective to meet this goal?
Yeah.
And see how it lines up with the objectives we already got. I would keep it kind of short and simple, and in order to get the most bang for our buck, would be my thought on the survey.
Do we want to set up a meeting to knock out the survey so we can hand it to Jeff next week?
Well,
how does
honestly,
Sunday the 2nd sound?
We only have 4 goals, right?
How about we?
There are only,
four
only
goals?
4 goals.
That's so cute.
But there are tons of objectives and tons of actions. So to Jerry's point, I say we do a survey on the 4 goals. 1 to 10, what's your importance on this? And then a fill in the blank questionnaire.
What do you think?
What actions, to your point, do you think will help us obtain these goals and objectives? And I think that's the easiest way to start. And then maybe the results of that survey will kind of lead us into what the next survey is, and kind of breaking it down.
If someone wants to take a lead in drafting it, I always like, it's better to be done outside of committee
Yeah.
rather than in committee. I'd be happy to help edit it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have enough time, unfortunately, to take the lead on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we do it right, it won't be a big deal.
No.
So
I can write it up and I can ride my bike to your house on Sunday.
I mean, it'll be easy. It's just 4 objectives, scale 1 to 10. How important is this to you? And then a fill in the blank of that objectives or actions.
And you guys are going to create the survey. Jerry's going to edit it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
We're keeping you out of the loop.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It was awkward. It was too much to throw at
Last
you.
meeting was just a little much in general. Okay, perfect.
But cool. Does anyone else want to help write that survey? If not, I don't mind.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay.
And then I'll be in contact with you.
Actually, I'll rotate it back to you pretty quickly.
And
We'll do
I'll-
it by email.
Yes, perfect.
Jerry, what's your email?
All right, cool.
Survey, check.
So fundraising is the next thing on the list.
Hmm.
So how are we gonna go about, do we wanna have like a grant subcommittee, people that look up grants that we can look into? Do we wanna do this as an entire committee?
Are we fundraising for anything specific, or are we just
Well,
talking generic for
These
for
guys,
how that
right?
rolls
'Cause
out?
Eventually, we'll figure out what has the hierarchy, what's attainable, what we can do first, so on and so forth, what we'll need to access grant funding for,
Well,
which I know is very trying right now.
I'm a dork, and I read a lot of grants.
That's why
And
you're
I
not-
have a lot of things. So I wouldn't mind having a group of people that wanted to help me go through these grants and decided which ones were applicable and which weren't. But there's some cool ones from the Awesome Foundation that just wants to give $1,000 for anything that you find awesome.
Okay.
Okay, $1,000. It's hard for me to find anything that's only $1,000. They want it to like be the whole, like really have a start to finish with your project. And so if anyone has a project that only would cost $1,000, the Awesome Foundation, super easy application. And then there's here if we do visual arts or music. I was hoping Scarf would do a music festival, youth
Let me
oriented.
back up just for a second. I want to talk first for a second about the way we can raise money. And I got it broken down into grants, bonds, taxes, revenue from local events, GoFundMe pages, and partnerships. There's something else you guys think of that there's a way that we can, you know what I mean? Those are our main, my question is going to always be bonds and taxes. What are people willing to actually put out here to really make things happen? Because although grants are great, we'll wait forever for grants. We'll be waiting. We won't be taking action. I think that most of us would rather take action. You know what I mean? I've done a lot of local events and we know that we can raise good money here, although, you know what I mean? It just is what it is. But partnerships with other groups, GoFundMe pay. I mean, as we move forward on that, I would hope that, you know what I mean, we look at all of these different things as a possibility of a fundraiser and how we can do it. I like grants, but like I said, I'm going to repeat myself. Sorry, we'll have to wait. You know what I mean? And yeah, that's just my
Silent
input
auctions.
on that.
There's all kinds of ways to raise money.
The Pioneers, we're gonna do a pub crawl coming up in July. It'll be kind of fun. So each establishment will have a different fundraiser or something to go to a nonprofit or an event or a thing, like maybe it's a golf course, maybe it's, you know, Coral Point, maybe it's, you know, whatever. So we could kind of maybe tie these things into that. There's going to be silent auctions, there's going to be raffles, there's going to be a whole bunch of different things going on at each location. So I think if we're all kind of working together with all the communities that we represent, maybe we can do something, you know, to Todd's point, where we can kind of raise money as a community. But then on the back end, you can also apply for grants, because why not?
Oh yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
And so we're still being proactive, you know. Yeah. Hey, Mike.
I think that's great, and maybe we could have a fundraising brainstorm session and come up with something. I mean, from a walkathon, like the 5Ks coming up, there's ways.
And I think again, after
Get
this
money.
survey, we'll kind of figure out what the community is willing to fundraise for. So I think this is where we start, and then next meeting we can look at the results and we'll say, okay, this is where we need to start, and we can go from there.
I have a suggestion about the raffle part. I have seen a couple of arts group, one in Santa Barbara and one in Southern California in Rancho Palos, where it is they do dream home raffle, and they're not cheap. They're like $100 a piece, and it's licensed, signed up with California State. And can we do something similar here? And depending on how much we want to raise, we don't want to offer a home, but we could offer land to build on. Like already owns a bunch of lots, and it's 100 bucks a piece. But like so I have a question for you, Chris. Do you know how many buildable lots like separately already owns? Or maybe a few.
I don't know. I don't know that. There's a lot of green belt, of course. So, I guess depends on what you consider a buildable lot. Are you talking about all district property?
Like a lot. So it'll be a raffle. The winner will get one lot to build a house on it, and we'll sell tickets for $100 a piece.
District lots?
No. Otherwise, we'll have to raise funds to buy the land and sell it also. I mean, give it away.
Friends recently are trying to get rid of their lots that are buildable. So it might be something too we can just get donated from somebody who owns a lot or inherited it or whatever, and they don't know what to do with it. I've been seeing several posts like, hey, I'm trying to get rid of this. We just actually the last meeting, right? We got a lot donated to us to rid. Yeah, that was inherited. Yeah. So that's
an interesting
it's a good idea.
That's an interesting bang for a buck fundraiser. Yeah.
Or something.
Go big or go home.
So maybe once a year, $100,000, $200,000 fundraised. Maybe we could use it for RID if we need to do some RID work too.
Don't give it away yet.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's really interesting. How much did they raise in Palos Verdes?
Oh, they raised millions.
Millions. Yeah. That's interesting.
Another thing is that I'd like to try to find some place on Greenbelt that we could do some sort of wedding. You know what I mean? A spot where we could, you know what I mean? I've discussed this with Chris before about, you know what I mean? Some spots where the possibility of setting up a nice wedding venue is there for us, you know what I mean? So that the grid can get some money that way. And that would be, you know what I mean? I think something that we should keep our eyes open for.
Well, I already have Little Black Sam, right?
Yeah,
That's owned by Red.
Yeah.
And we don't charge for it.
What are your thoughts there?
So, well, I did a wedding there, so yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it was pouring down rain, and I had to carry up 52 chairs. But we made it a little
Nonetheless.
nonetheless, we could make it a little bit more accessible, and I know that's on our
It is on the list.
right?
And
It's
that parking and the
parking,
asphalt drop off to the beach is dangerous.
Yes, but it's a beautiful spot. It's very desired. We could definitely make money off of that, but I think there's also probably some greenbelt places we could make some money off of too.
Yeah, in fact, I think, I'm sorry that I'm going to wander a second here. We talked about this, and I'd really like us to try to look for greenbelt areas that we can try to do something on. As I say that, I spotted the two spots that I think that would be good for a walking path would be that Willow Glen flat up above where they have the solar power. Above that is all a greenbelt area. It'd be nice to have a walking area there. Also down by Telegraph Creek, that corner there where the bridge is on the far side.
Yeah.
Those are cheap things that we could do with volunteers and make those things happen. One of the things that I really have a challenge here is that as running the bistro, people ask me what to do. And it's hard, you know what I mean? You got about 3 hours of stuff you can do here at the Cove, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you get away and do some nice walks. It'd be nice to have a nice circular walking path. That's just, I think, something that is in low-hanging fruit that we could really think about trying to do.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Maybe we could pick some picnic tables or absolutely. I know Mike was, if he still have a question or a comment.
No, I think he just forgot to mute his mic.
Oh, okay, good. All right, perfect. All right, so I think, I don't know, Jessica, with the Brown Act, is there a way that we can all get together and kind of discuss these things?
You guys are a group of 7, so no more than 3 people can discuss it. Otherwise, violate Brown Act. Got it.
So if we got into a couple groups.
Whoa.
Yeah, I knew there
Okay.
was something. Yeah.
All right.
So we could do that. And how about agenda setting?
But if you set up a subcommittee
Yeah,
to the committee,
yeah.
and that subcommittee's 2 or 3 people,
Mhm.
they can meet, then I take it.
Mhm.
Yeah, as long as the subcommittee is no larger than 3 people, you guys can meet. And not.
All right, so we could, I'm thinking there's so many great ideas here. We could maybe get into groups of 3 and every month. And then maybe when we get to the meeting, discuss our ideas together and then kind of put them as discussion items for next meeting or action items, things like that. What do you guys think?
I think that sounds great.
Perfect. Perfect. So for this month, what do we want to do? I just want to go down the line, us 3, then you 3, maybe you and Tristan, you can go with Tristan.
Yeah.
And then we'll just switch it up next month. Okay, that sound good?
Public comment, yeah.
I was just curious if you guys were open for some public comment.
Always. Bring it, especially
Okay.
from you.
I just have a couple of things. Just first off, thank you guys all for volunteering your time on this. Yeah, I trust me, I understand. One suggestion I may have. One thing I think it would be really good to see. I like the plan of your survey. We've had surveys ad nauseum out here. I know I've taken part in at least half a dozen in my 20-something years out here. And that's, the basketball court's been like top of the list for forever. One thing I think is really needed is for you guys, if you guys would take kind of like the grand vision, of all the things that people are looking at and literally take a map of the Cove and kind of get that master plan. If you've ever been down to like Fort Bragg and stuff down there, they actually have they have a map out there of they have massive trails out there. It's all the trails and everything out there. And it's basically a full community recreational map. And honestly, I think that would be a great starting place, is kind of get your ideas of what the people are wanting and then really get a map and kind of start planning these things out. Because honestly, in my time at the RID on the board and just as a resident here, it's really been a kind of shotgun approach. Okay, we have this idea, let's find a spot for it. We have this idea, let's find a spot for it. There hasn't been any real great plan to be like, okay, let's kind of develop this area for this and maybe have a couple of these things here. Like now we have the sports court going in there. So maybe having a courts and field area, and then, obviously planning. The SCARF did a great job getting some trails and stuff in. As we all know, none of them are connected. They're kind of slap shot. And so it'd be nice to have a trail plan to get some of these trails connected to where I could leave from a place and be able to just go walk or park one place and actually get a good hike in, and not have to be on the road a lot, kind of thing. I know there's several places that I've walked that Chief Papa's walked, that are good areas for trails and such, that we really could connect. And I know Chief Papa's worked on getting some clearing and stuff, having crews clear for fire breaks, but then also with the idea of in the future possibly developing trails and stuff like that. Easiest way for us to maintain like a shaded fuel break is to have a trail or something through it to where people are constantly going through. We're keeping the underbrush down and it just gets more attention. Because we have some shaded fuel breaks out in the outlying areas. They don't get any walking or anything, and they're just going to ultimately grow back up because nobody's there to observe it or really care. What was the other thing? The funding part. Honestly, once you come in with that, then you can kind of start looking at your funding. And honestly, I really think you guys should start looking at like a property tax. As much as people don't like the thought of property tax, I know myself, I have no problem paying $100, $150 a year in property taxes if I know that's all going to Parks and Rec. Because I know Chris knows RID does not have a lot of spare money to go to Parks and Rec. That's why, unfortunately, Parks and Rec is really lacking in the Cove. It's, we're here for operation. That's RID's main thing is operations. Yes, Parks and Rec is under their purview as well, but that's one of those kinds of things. whatever money's left over after everything else is taken care of. So, I mean, I know sometimes it's a hard sell, but I think if you really sold people on the idea of, look, these are the ideas, these are the plans, these are the facilities and things that we want to see in the Cove, and this is how we can fund them. Would you be willing to spend $100 a year, $150 a year? I mean, that's nothing compared to what people eat out at their coffee or whatever. I know I'd have no problem doing that. We already do that for the fire department. We've basically got about roughly $100 per parcel, and we pull in about $400,000 a year. So if you did about $100 per parcel, that'd be almost $500,000 a year to work with.
When was the last time a property tax happened around here, and what was it
Fire
for?
department tax was the last time that it wasn't a new one, but that was the last time that because it was $25 a year on the past property tax for the fire department, and then 2017, 2018, we had an increase towards $99 for undeveloped lots, $125 for a home, and I believe $250 for commercial. If I'm remembering.
Was that a tough sell, or how did that go?
Sell. We only passed by one vote, 2 votes.
No.
But we've also changed what the fire department, just using the fire department as an example, what the fire department did. That's why we do your lockout assist. That's why we do a lot of our public assist to, really show the community what they were getting them or what they were paying for. Give them some return on that money and really be out front for it. I don't think it would be as hard of a sell for Parks and Rec. I mean, if I know I'm going to have, it's going to have the funding to get a basketball or multi-use court, if we're actually going to see some trails. Because I've been out here over 20 years. All this discussion has been happening that entire time. We still don't have pretty much any of it. Yeah. The sports courts, all that. I don't play golf myself. I suck. So I get frustrated enough at other things. I don't need that frustration. But I completely understand. I mean, the golf course has always been a point. And I hear about the glory days of the golf course when there was the clubhouse and everything else. But I've also talked to people who have been through there that have said there's a reason it's not there. It wasn't profitable. It did bring in some income, but it doesn't seem that there was, enough to sustain.
What's the mechanism for instigating an additional property tax? Do we have to have a vote on a?
It would be a community-wide vote, and I believe it has to be a 2/3 vote, 2/3 pass.
So it's registered voters then here.
It is registered voters in Shelter Cove. Yeah. So you have a lot of absentee property owners who will put up a voice, but they're not. A lot of them aren't willing to change their voter registration to here in order to affect the vote. So
there's only 50 or so. Is exactly.
People that own lots here that don't live here, they don't get to vote on these things.
Yeah.
But I think people that live here, we want these things. We've been talking about it for 20 years.
For the property owners, it's just that's more bang for their buck. That's adding property value to it.
That's such a high number of Airbnbs now. I think that those people are going to be more than willing to.
And the dynamics have changed definitely in the 20+ years I've been here. When I first came here, that was at the beginning of the change from the retirement community. That's when people were really selling off the retirement homes. Pauline was here at that point. There are very few kids and families here. I mean, as you could count them on basically 2 hands, the amount of families that had kids and everything that were here compared to now. It has totally changed, especially with, the working from afar and that kind of thing. It's completely changed the dynamic. So just a couple of things. I've been, I was on the Parks and Rec as part of the board for years. And these are things that kind of needed to happen through there. But unfortunately, like I said, the Parks and Recs got kind of shoved on the end game, and the what we have going now again is still kind of the reflection of that, or the end of that kind of shotgun approach with the sports court. As I said, that was just a grant that the past GM just decided to go for, had no plan for, and we kind of had to find a plan for it. And that's why it's kind of incomplete in its funding and everything else, and its whole concept. It was just like, oh, we have $174,000. What can we do with it? And then that was kind of one thing that came up that was beneficial to all. So we looked at mountain bike courts or tracks and stuff up at Willow Glen and that kind of thing. So, but yeah.
I like your idea about the property tax increase.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have to wait for a county election of some sort? Like
It would have to be, but that gives you time. It takes time to do these things. I know it took about 2 years worth of work in order to get our property tax in or increased in and everything. And honestly, I just think it's a good thing. For one, it puts the burden on everybody who's out here, not just like on the ratepayers and such, which is a lot of things that RID is having to deal with now, because the ratepayers right now are trying to deal with the aging infrastructure, not, because we haven't raised our property tax for RID in forever as well. And so it's one of those things that, I'm not a proponent for big property taxes. I hate paying that hospital one because that's the last place I'm going to go for any medical care, but I still got to pay $175 or something a year for that place. So, but I'd be much more willing to pay that kind of same money for Shelter Cove.
We got 2 years. I mean, midterm's coming up in 2 years.
Yeah, no, exactly.
We ought to start doing it.
To really start planning on it. My last thing was on where you guys are talking about the renting out like wedding spaces and stuff. I just like to remind you, remember, these are public lands. You can't, like Black Sands Beach, even if you want to do some improvements and stuff, you can't really charge somebody to go there and then try and keep somebody else out of that from going there. Right. You can't keep me from going and walking my dogs to somebody, and I've really looked, before you kind of made that plan, I really looked into it because I don't know about the legality of that, because remember, our green belts, everything that RID owns is public land.
That is true.
So there's a reason that we can do it for the clubhouse and stuff, because that's a facility they maintain, improvements and everything else. But just open lands and stuff, like if we couldn't really do something like Wedding Point and be like, okay, we have this area corralled out and charge for it, because those are public lands.
Right.
So, okay. But cool. And I'm going to try and make as much as I can to these meetings. I'm usually on duty on Thursdays, so I'm more than happy, but I'll sit back there quietly and let you guys want.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
No, thank you.
No, it's good. I learned.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah, that was really enlightening. So also, I really like the idea of a trail plan.
A walking trail?
Yeah, when was the last time we have one even updated? Do we know?
Mm.
Do you know, Chris? The last time we had like an updated map? I'm wondering if we should just do a map of what we have now. A trail map.
That's a good idea.
And have it at all the businesses and general store and all of that stuff. I have one I made myself for my Airbnb, and it has QR codes. So you scan the QR code and it puts it in on Google Maps. It has the coordinates.
Yeah, we have kind of similar at the gift stores hand out those maps.
Yeah, I was thinking that map, doesn't that map have the trail?
Right. That has, yes, it talks about the nature trail and Bill Franklin Trail, also the labyrinth. Yeah.
That's a useful resource.
And all the businesses.
One just for trails, that might be good for Parks and Rec. Yeah.
Right. And the toilets or bathrooms.
Yeah,
restrooms.
exactly. So that could be something we could look into. Yeah, because I'm sure it's been a while since that's been updated. I don't even remember the last time she updated that, when that was made.
A year ago, because
Amy's,
she contacts the businesses, asks if they want to re-up.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, great.
She's actually going to make one in another month, so I could ask her if she wants to. And
that'd be awesome.
trails.
So I don't really think we need to talk about the golf course anymore, because you guys are going to make a little plan for us, so we can kind of move forward on that. Sports court update. Since the agenda setting meeting, Chris, were there any more updates about that?
No, I am meeting Mike Bruno next week. He's helping me with the county permitting process, and we're going to be talking about some of the things the county building department has asked for, like soils, where to haul soils and drainage plans and stuff like that. So we'll be talking about that next week.
Okay, cool. I don't know if you guys saw the last road meeting about this. Essentially, the permit's been submitted, right?
Yes.
Yes. And we haven't really heard anything back except about the zoning, right?
Yeah.
So zone 5 is now zone 2, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we can hold public gatherings.
I was one of the advocates that pointed out that
Yeah, you were.
we should be grandfathered for it because it's been shown that it was in that use way before the new plan was implemented by the county.
Right.
So I'm surprised there's any doubt.
Renovation.
Well, it's improvements.
Yeah, improvements. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably have some more sports board update for the RID board meeting in March or the next Parks and Rec meeting.
And then the only other thing I can think of was that Chris did contact SHN and asked for 2 updates, one for revisions for if it stayed in the same spot and one for revisions if it were to be moved. So if it stays in the same spot, it was 5,000, and then revisions was 10, or if it moved, it would be 10,000.
Yeah, that
right?
was we're shrinking it down. They
Yeah.
said maybe 5,000, and then we're relocating it.
Right.
In that
And
same
doing
spot,
that. Yeah.
10,000.
Yeah. So those are all the updates we have so far. So I just wanted you guys to know that in case you missed the meeting. So.
And I do know that the pickleball group is creating a nonprofit so that they can start fundraising as well, so that they can take on some of the maintenance of the courts and stuff. And that should be solidified in the next couple weeks.
Okay, sweet. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the update. So now we're on to Miss Riley. She wanted to present a pump track presentation.
What is that?
Email that to you.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
Nature Trail Flyer. Let's see what that is.
Just point to every slide.
Yeah.
I know.
Should I go over here or?
Yeah.
I outside and I hit it behind.
Oh, sister.
All right, so Shelter Cove Pump Track, enhancing community recreation and economic growth.
Woo woo.
So what is a pump track? A pump track is a paved loop course with banked turns and rollers designed for bikes, skateboards, scooters, and more. I have even seen people in wheelchairs using these and others running with their strollers. It is inclusive and multi-use, suitable for all ages and skill levels. So as you can see in this picture, they can go slow or you can go fast. Why Shelter Cove needs a pump track? There is no dedicated space for children or adults to ride skateboards, scooters, roller skates, or bikes in Shelter Cove. I know that I often use the airstrip, even though that is not as you're supposed to be doing, but it's the only place where I can ride a skateboard or roller skate or a situation. It encourages health, outdoor activities for all ages, provides a safe space for kids and families to ride instead of using our roads, and can serve as a gathering place for the community. Community benefit would be health and wellness, encourages physical activity and outdoor play. Youth engagement provides a safe, fun activity for kids and teens. Social and economic impact would attract visitors, support local businesses. My husband and I traveled for 4 months going up and down the coast of California all the way to Arizona, hitting up pump tracks, skate parks, and waves to surf when the waves aren't pumping, the pump tracks always are. So we already have a community out here. I think practice goes right along with that. Also would bring people from the surrounding areas. Pump tracks are new and they're happening, and skateboarding is actually a permanent Olympic sport starting in 2028. So this is something that would be great for our children. Yes, Wendy?
What is the difference between a pump track and a skate park?
Lovely, I love it. So if you look at this picture, a pump track instead of a skate park, they're great because they can be integrated into small spaces. They're a loop, and so with, say, a skate park, bikes are super dangerous at a skate park because they're such big items and they go so fast. So if you're a skateboarder like I am, and I have my children, if there's bikers there, I'm like, oh, we gotta leave, dude. I'm not taking the chance of a biker coming and just wiping out my child.
Here, they're going in a loop. So in front of that person would be my child on the skateboard, and behind, and they could detour. So this one isn't the best image for that, but you can kind of go around. So if this kid's going slow, normally a track that goes like this, and then back around, and so they can, go as fast as they want on their bikes, their skateboards, their scooters, whatever. You don't have to worry about running into each other. Also, skate parks, yeah, they're just not ideal for other activities. They are, you can use them, but this is all ages, all stages. From a little kid can go wee to somebody going super fast on these things. They're also great for all season use. So a paved pump track is low maintenance and is usable all year round. They have proper drainage and whatnot. So I did a Blue Lake case study. Oh gosh, I can't read from here.
Yeah.
I'm like, anywho, there's a Blue Lake case study. Let me grab my iPad. The one in Blue Lake,
Cost?
yeah. All right, so the Blue Lake is a small town, population of about 1,200. There is in Humboldt County, not far from Shelter Cove. The community lacks structural outdoor recreation beyond traditional parks. The project was initiated by the Blue Lake Parks and Recreation Department with strong community backing. Some of the project highlights are the paved pump track, 10,000 square feet, cost $200,000. The funding was local government recreation funds, private donations from local businesses, grants from outdoor recreation organizations. The builder was Velo Solutions, a company that specialized in world-class pump tracks. And the impact that the community said was there's increased community engagement. Kids, teens, and adults use pump track daily, promoting health and outdoor activities. Boosted local economy. Nearby businesses reported an increase in foot traffic from visiting riders. Year-round accessibility. Paved pump tracks allow for all-weather use, avoiding the maintenance issues with dirt tracks. And positive media coverage. Local newspapers and outdoor sports websites highlighted the project attracting tourism. I know, without a doubt in my mind, this will bring people from Redway, Garberville, and their surrounding areas. I travel all the time to go to pump tracks, taking our money that I'd rather spend here out of Shelter Cove. So yeah, bringing people out to the Cove would be an impact. Also, I have an Airbnb we rented for at a time, and we have had families that come and then they are like, oh, we're interested in buying a house. After that 3 months, they're like, our kids are so bored here. We're not buying a house. Actually, we're gonna go find somewhere else. There's nothing for our children to do. I have a 6-year-old and she's stuck in the house riding her skateboard or her roller skates, and I would really love to get her out of the house for those things. So we really need something to do for the kids, and I think that'll bring up the property values for everybody. And it'll attract bikers, skaters, and families looking for outdoor activities. And there's also potential for local events such as races and tourism-driven revenue. I myself would be open to doing events such as skateboard camp, roller skate camp, things where I could teach the children how to do it. At the end of the camp, we could do a little race and someone could win a skateboard or win something, that's another way that we could bring revenue to maybe those yearly upkeep funds, which are actually really, to upkeep a pump track anywhere from $500 to a couple $1,000 a year is all that we would need. So I put out a survey into the community, and this is a little bit about what we got back as far as a proposed location. 52% said anywhere with ocean views, 31% said near the community center, 3% said anywhere, another 3% said BLM, and then no preferences and where the kids can locate easily. My personal center that hits somewhere with ocean views, near the community center, and somewhere where the kids can easily locate it. Here we have estimated costs and funding. So a pump track is anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000. This varies in size and features. If you look at this picture that I have here, you can see this is a very simple pump track. It's just 2 loops. And what's great about this is you can add on. So we could start with something where, hey, this is our big grand scheme
2019. But right now we only have funding for this budget. And so we can add on, as you can see in this picture, you can see maybe where you can kind of have an idea of what a pump track could look like, where that ground is, where it could be added on, and even a skate park could be added on to a pump track. I have been to many pump tracks that have skate parks attached. We could do with grants, parks and recreation, local fundraisers and sponsorships, potential public-private partnerships, and also our I would like to help with that. Thank you.
I love your idea.
Thank you.
Have you, and I encourage you to talk to SCARF. You know, they have a representative that is pushing for a skate park.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I like this idea better.
Yeah, this is great for every.
So I encourage you to cozy up the SCARF, maybe join them or whatever. And because they're looking for leadership in this regard,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
I had talked to somebody, I don't remember who I talked to, I think my email, but I didn't hear back from, so it was something that I wanted to get their email.
Ransom Reed, I think, is the guy that's supposed to be the point guy on the skateboard park. Now, one of the things they anticipated as a downside, just so you know, is noise and parking. You know, depending where you put it.
And insurance.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. I'll have to look at what the other communities are doing. There's parks that are state funded all over California, all over the place. And, I'm not really sure as far as insurance and that stuff. That is something that I'm looking into.
Is there a skate something in Redway? I feel like I heard about just a sign on the fence. That was sort of the waiver. I mean, that was their waiver.
And it took like 15 years
Yeah.
to build, over 15 years to get it approved and built. Now they're struggling with the insurance. They can't get insurance for a ramp. My son's a skateboarder, he's raised here, so he skated all over this county. And when they got that ramp in, it was a big hit, but now there's months where they have to shut it down because they cannot fundraise the insurance. And there's a permanent locality account specifically for that ramp. And they struggle month to month to get people, the economy has changed here. So, I mean, this is a great idea, but the insurance is a big deal.
As a skateboarder, I'm not going to invest any money into a wooden pump or a wooden track.
First of all.
It's been resurfaced at least 6 times since it's been built.
And it's at the community park.
Yeah.
So they have all the space to do stuff like this. And they actually have planned for a huge sports complex.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people.
Fields and everything.
And they just, it comes down to money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think everything, whatever we're gonna do as far as Parks and Rec is gonna come down to the money out here.
As for the community park skate ramp, it is on private land, so I don't know if that makes sense. But they pay insurance, I can't remember if it's a 6 month or a year term, but it's $5,000 for, I think, 6 months.
6 months.
So if this is on public land, that I don't know the answer to that. I just don't know if there's a difference, so that's, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I'm curious.
They pay $5,000. Yeah, maybe I'll reach out to Blue Lake and see what their situation is.
Right.
You're right.
Check Arcata as well. Arcata's got their skate park.
I mean, there's skate parks all over, and I'm wondering how they are. I'm sure.
They're like city.
A lot more prevalent than when I was a
They're
kid.
city funded.
Yeah. And so what would make this maybe different?
The whole city has tax revenues. It's taxes that pays for that.
And a lot of them now, you basically have to sign a waiver like any place else.
Yeah.
They'll have a running insurance basically for the facility, but any kind of liability as a participant in there, you have to sign a waiver.
There's big
have it
signs.
paired.
Big signs that say, we are not liable, you
Yeah.
must wear a helmet, you must all these things. And maybe that's something that we could even, here, have a nice big sign that says you have to wear a helmet, you have to.
Yeah, mostly the insurance is for like basic liability.
Yeah.
Like if the track wasn't maintained and there was like, a divot or something in the concrete and a kid,
It causes an issue.
busted his teeth out, then
Yeah.
that's what the insurance is for.
Okay, well, that's. Maybe talk with Garth a little bit more about.
I was just thinking, I was a skydiver for 50 years and skydived all over the world, and you always signed a waiver, and they always had the sign.
Yeah.
And obviously they had a liability worry, I'm sure, in the back of their minds.
Oh yeah, I remember the few skate parks that were available when I was a kid. Yeah, same thing. Had to actually sign their contract.
I've never signed a contract with you.
Del Mar used to have.
Oh, wow.
Certain
Yeah.
ones, like private ones, and as a parent,
Yeah, private, yeah.
I would have to sign waivers, but like the city owned are just signs that say we are not liable.
Yeah, as you enter, like how to get it in, and then there's like a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how Arcata is as well.
Arcadia, you have to sign, the city of Arcadia has private, and you have to sign a waiver for each child, every time you went.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
For
Skate
more
ramp, have you been
information.
there?
Yeah. What?
Rampart?
I have not.
Okay, that's, Rampart's in Arcadia, that's private.
Okay, yeah, and I'm curious with this Blue Lake one, because I just feel like that's such similar to our kind of community up here. I'm curious about what they do. I'll have to look into that. With the survey that I sent out, here was some of what our community thought. So, I'll just read a couple of this. This would be a huge asset to our community. My daughter grew up here, and we had to drive to Eureka to ride the pump track. There are healthy activities for our youth. They attract people from out of town to ride. Our declining economy means we need to put our money into things that will attract people from other areas so that we can bring money from outside of our community into our communities out there. And what a great idea for family and kids to do in the Cove. This could give the kids something and outdoor fun. It would be great for visitors. Another reason to visit the Cove. I really just envision people flying in, their kids riding the pump track, they're going to Jimbo, they're playing golf, you know, the kids are wanting to come with their parents if there's nothing for them to do, but maybe this could be, you can bring more people to the Cove. So my conclusion and my call to action is a pump track would benefit the health and the economy of our community while giving our youth safe things to do. Our idea for maybe land allocation and grant applications. Thank you. And if you have any more concerns, you can call me. There's my phone number and my email.
Thank you. Yeah, I really love the idea. And I also love it too because when the sports court gets built, my concern is that there's going to be kids trying to be stacked.
Oh, I will definitely be there.
Right. And so when I think about this, I'm like, okay, this is a good way for them to not do that. Then we can all use it for the things that it's meant for, which is basketball,
You could almost
football.
have them right next to each other.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
I was even thinking over by what's cool about pump tracks is they can go in a circle. So like they can wrap around things. They could wrap around the community garden, They don't have to be some big space that we need to take up. They can be really small and it's just go like this, go figure eights. And then we could build onto it if, funding and insurance and stuff like that is an issue. There's something that can be built onto. They're not like, oh, this is it. This is, they're really easy to build on.
Yeah. Well, I'd be curious to find out what you find out about Blue Lake and their insurance and how they run it and how that goes. And then, you can just maybe bring that to us whenever you get all that information, and then we can kind of figure out what we want to do with that. But I love this idea. I think it's great. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pam. You can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you. Thank you. I think this is a great idea. One thing that stands out to me is how much, kind of flat or relatively flat space do we still have in Shelter Cove available to do these kind of things? And I wonder if there would be any consideration to maybe partner with, a location like Whitethorn Lumber for stuff like this. They've got huge open grassy areas. It's really a 15-minute drive over the hill, and which is not too arduous. So where we're running out of flat land, would is there any consideration to looking to partnering with our neighbors in the same way that the fire department is doing with Whitethorn and Bryceland and other communities that aren't that far away from us? Thank you.
I think one of the ideas that is so great about the pump track is bringing people to our community to spend their money here. Like I said, I traveled for 4 months setting up pump tracks. I spent so much money driving up and down the coast to California, shopping, restaurants, all that stuff. This will bring people to our community. I know that without a doubt. This is something that's new. They're happening. They're like, skate parks, we've all been to them. We've all seen them, but pump tracks are something that's new and exciting. And I think taking it outside of our community is the whole reason we need it in our community, is to bring people here to help our community thrive, also bring families to our area, and that will help our housing market. Like I said, we've had people stay at our house and they're like, oh yeah, no, there's like one thing for our kids to do out here, and that is jujitsu. And there's nothing for our children out here. I mean, I asked my daughter, I'm like, what's a pickleball? And she's like, a ball shaped as a pickle. So we have to think about things for these kids to do. Otherwise, our families are going to be leaving, and it will go back to being a retirement community. If that's what we want it to be, that's totally fine. But there's nothing. There is absolutely nothing for our children to do out here. They're bored, and when they're bored, they're going to move to drugs and alcohol. And myself, like, I will move out of town before I allow that to happen for my children. So, yeah, and I love this community. I don't want to go anywhere else, but we really need healthy, good things for our children.
I didn't write your name down.
Riley.
Thank you, Riley.
Okay, perfect. Anything else on the pump track? I think until we find out a bit more information, and I definitely want to do some research myself. And Riley, do we have a Glen pump track worthy? Is it?
Will you take me on a field trip up there? I gotta get up there.
Even the Greenbelt, I think about, I live on Landis. I'm the house on Landis.
Below
There's
Glen,
that
I want
Greenbelt
to
right
see it.
there. I'd love to have a pump track.
I don't even know where the solar fields are. Must be by the tower.
Also, we could have a trail going from the trail that's already kind of over by Landis, you can cross the road and then go back onto that green belt, and it can bring you right over there with your bikes and stuff like that. Yeah, right. I would totally be fine with having a pump track in front of my house.
Yeah.
Also, with my idea of having it maybe over by the community center, I know some concerns could be vandalism. And then also if it's out in the mountains, I know the last RID manager was like, oh, well, we could go put it out on this spot out in the mountains. And I'm like, okay, well, if our concerns are children smoking and drinking and doing things they're not supposed to, having a skate park out in the middle of nowhere where no one can supervise it, and it's not in public eye, then I think that's going to be an issue. But I think if we have it somewhere by the community park, we can have video cameras or live cams that can be watching it all the time. I could call my kid, hey, where you at? You at the pump track? Okay, let me see. I'm gonna do. There's the cam on the pump track, and we can keep our children safe.
You know that when you say that you want to have it down there, that there's big limitations on how many people you can have there at one time.
Not if it's an improvement to the activity area.
That's TBD, I think.
Yeah.
I want you to be right, Gary. Really bad. But
I be honest with you, as a person that's here, I'm going to try to keep everything away from there because I don't think that area is a good area. Again, it's near the airport, and it's just.
What's great about it is you don't
But we
have
have
to
many other places in this Cove that we can look at, and there's lots of places. You know what I mean? That are. When we say flat area, there's a whole yard that's still there.
But the great thing is it doesn't need to be a flat area. That's what I love about this, is because the way it's designed, it doesn't have to be flat. And how many non-flat areas do we have? A lot.
Semi-flat.
So, yeah.
How about the children's playground right below us at the RID? Have you looked at this area right here?
Right here?
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about that as a spot, but it could definitely, that's what's great is they can circle around existing areas. Yeah, which would be cool. Yeah. And as far as noise and stuff, we're such a small community, maybe in a city, but I don't see there being 20 kids at the pump track just being loud. It's not like wheels make a lot of noise. I'd be more concerned about basketball. That makes a boom, boom more than wheels going on.
Well, either way, I think we'd probably put a fence around it and a lock after a certain time.
Yeah.
Right? Like we would probably with a sports court or anything like that, because we don't want it vandalized and we don't want it misused. So that would, and I think it's a good opportunity maybe to use some eco materials too for it. There's like hempcrete that is fire resistant and eco-friendly. And
that are eco-friendly. I would also shy away from using any local businesses. There's a list that I have of proper pump track
builders because you have to have the correct downgrade slopes. Otherwise, your board is going to go whoop, and a low quality track is just going to deteriorate and no one's going to use it anyway. So going to those quality companies, and there are some that use eco-friendly. Yeah, and it's flat land, and you don't have to build up, right? Which was one of, I know, the concerns with the airport is like, okay, well, we can't build up because of that. Well, it's great because we don't have to build up. It's at level, and they can be made really beautiful, you know, with the grass and whatnot. Same as just like a walking trail, you know, it's basically a walking trail. It is a walk, you know, same materials, same kind of idea, except for
Right. Perfect. I love the idea.
yeah. And on my survey, 100% of people said yes, that they would like a contract.
How many people?
35 people.
How many people responded to your survey?
35.
And how many did you send it to?
I sent it to like 3 people and had them send it out. Yeah.
Well, maybe we should put that on this too for the survey.
Well,
Yeah. Throw it down.
Yeah.
Definitely talk to Scarf because they're working on a skate park.
Well,
You guys need to merge.
yeah, I think you guys need to merge. I agree 100%. I think they'll love that, your idea.
And who can I get? I don't know
Well,
if this is something, or if you could maybe get me a list of.
Mark Mitchell would be the top guy.
And
He's
I
the
would just show
president.
up to a meeting, you know?
Yeah.
I would just show up to a meeting, and I honestly think a lot of the nonprofits can help you, and we can all work as a community together to raise the money. And
I think mainly our idea was just land is what I had heard in the past was like the issue.
You can combine forces. I really think that they would love your idea.
Mark Mitchell. Cool. I will reach out to him today.
Guess you could try Nina Jackson. That's my wife.
Or Ransom. Ransom
Okay.
Reed.
She might respond too.
Is she on the scarf as well? I have
She's
no
on the
idea.
board.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to cross that line.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. I really love it. Okay, so moving on. Action items, approve the minutes. Can I get anybody to approve that?
I want to make a suggested change.
Sure.
I want to make a suggested change. On page 2, under 4, sports court, I would change it to just simply say the committee discussed pursuing a variance separately, yet concurrently, period. Rather, because again, we never voted on that.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree with that. Any other changes? I already read through all those. So.
No.
Okay, so can we get somebody to vote on approving this with the change of taking out is in the best interest of the community on item number 4, sports court?
And change the verb there from fields to discuss.
Okay, so number 4, changing fields to discussed and then ending it at concurrently taking out is the best interest of the community. Can I get somebody to approve these minutes with those changes?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as modified.
Great, I second that.
Roll call. Trustee Shane, absent. Trustee Sanders, absent. Todd Akey.
Aye.
Jeremiah Jackson.
Aye.
Laura Ball.
Aye.
Lindsey Ball.
Aye.
Oh, I see a misspelled right now. I misspelled Lindsey, sorry. And then Steve.
Aye.
Roger.
And do you mind if I ask a quick question? There was a document that also was included that was simply a summary, I guess, of our meeting. It's titled Parks and Rec Committee Meetings, January 2nd, 2025. And includes summary, highlights, key insights, etc. Where'd that come from?
Chairperson.
Okay, is that-
Notes, so this is just a more detailed note.
Yeah.
The minutes
Is
that
it-
are more of a recording
Does this,
of all the actions. The chairperson notes is more kind of.
Those are just all of my highlighted. There was so much that I just kind of.
just, What standing does this document have?
I guess it's just a reference.
Yeah, just reference on what was discussed the first meeting, because there was just so much, I just kind of dumped it down into little paragraphs and key points. Yeah.
I'm kind of going back to my first thought was that there's stuff in here that, I might have disagreed with.
Well, and it's not really about disagreeing or agreeing, it's just what was discussed. That's all, just what was discussed in the meeting itself. It doesn't mean these are items to move forward with, it's just a summary of what happened during that meeting.
Are we going to see these every meeting?
Yes, but I think going forward, they're going to be a lot better. Because now we're voting on things and we're figuring out a flow. Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, we have a minutes, we have an agenda, we have a minutes that follows up and documents what we did. What's this other document doing out there?
I was just asked to do this. I was asked to put together a summary of the meeting as the chairperson.
We don't do that for RID, do we? Do you guys write up a summary of the RID meeting?
I don't know if the committee's different.
No, I think, I'm not, committees are new to me for one thing. But this was meant to be slightly more detailed, I think, for the board's reference to those who are not here, and they can see a little bit more what was discussed, but the meetings are the actual record.
I mean, I would maybe vote to just maybe put the link to the YouTube video if anybody wants reference of what was going on during the meeting, and then just from here on forward, just having the minutes.
Quite frankly, I would do that. I mean,
yeah.
No disrespect.
No, not at all.
I just found it odd that we have this other document.
I've never done it in a committee either, so I just did the best I could.
I would refer to the video.
Yeah, I think we could.
And it cuts down on your workload, if nothing else.
I'm all for it.
That's a lot of documentation.
It is, and it was a lot of, to go through.
Let's vote on that then. Let's make that happen.
Yeah. So I'm fine with that, just putting the reference of the YouTube link for the recorded meeting, and then just doing the minutes from here on out. I think that's a great way to go forward. I agree. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I can't do it because I'm the chair, so somebody has to do it first, and then I can sign it.
Make a motion along those lines?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would make a motion that we refer any interested party to review the video of the meeting for any detailed understanding of discussions.
I second that.
Roll call. Josh Boucher, absent. Tristan Sanders, absent. Todd Easy.
Aye.
Jeremiah Jackson.
Aye.
Laura Ball. Aye. Wendy Ball.
Aye.
Amy Rajan.
Aye. I have a suggestion for, looks like there's no shortage of ideas, but money is the problem. Like Jack was pointing out last, when he made the comments, I think we need to focus on some sort of an understanding where, whether it's tax, it's a couple of years worth of work, can we have an action item on every meeting and or some sort of a focused subcommittee or something. And then also, I think all other ideas we discussed too, like whether it's tickets or raffles and things. And I would do some research on how we can legally do something like that. I could press the next meeting. And if it's tax, like how do we do that? Like so that we could get some action going. And then we could have like a fundraising goal of 500,000 or something. So we could consider all of these, like we get the survey results and then we will be looking for action, the money.
And I think that action's going to come a lot. Maybe not this next meeting, but the one after that, because we'll have the survey, we'll have our meetings together, the group of 3, where we kind of discuss our ideas and what we feel, we can fundraise and what we should do first is create a hierarchy of things. And I think once we do that, it'll be easier to kind of have those action items kind of outlined and more defined.
I was talking more like a fundraising idea. Fundraising we can start thinking about right away.
Right, but that would be specific to the action item, right? So
not necessarily.
What about if we include it as a standing discussion item?
Yes.
Fundraising. And then that way it's a footnote and we know we're going to cover it.
Yeah.
And then we can, at some point, we might even want to set up a subcommittee for fundraising to pursue ideas in detail.
Yeah.
So I guess the idea is just let's include it as a standing discussion item. Fundraising.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I hear and I feel for RID because they're constantly struggling, you know, and they don't have many things they can do. And it'd be great if we could, as a group, come up with some good ideas to really help this community, help Rid out as well.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Absolutely. Okay, so that's for the unfinished business. I think, yeah, definitely I'm sure fundraising will be on every action item from here on out. It's kind of our main issue, right? So that'll go in unfinished business. And then the other unfinished business item I thought about on the way over here was we thought that once a quarter we should have a town hall. So everyone can come and as a community and kind of give their 2 cents. And I think after the survey that might spark that. That being said, do we want to preliminarily set a date and time to do that?
Did we decide those to be quarterly, or did we
Well,
not?
we thought about quarterly every 3 months, which I think is good. And I think this community is very much into Parks and Rec. So I think we'll have a good turnout. And I think it'll also be really, really helpful for our meetings going forward on what we should focus on. And that's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I thought maybe we want to set a date for that. Yeah.
Would we like you said, survey results? Should we chew and talk about that before we go to the public, or should we expose ourselves to them?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. So maybe the April month.
That's what I'm thinking. It'll be a little bit over a quarter, but whatever.
Right.
The last.
I'm always worried about rain. Yeah. I'm thinking, you know, May, but I could go. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion, quite frankly.
May 1st. I mean, we could do the 24th of April, which would be pretty dang close, or we could do
Because the
May
17th
1st.
is the RID meeting, so that would be the. I'd be down with that.
And would we make this an evening meeting?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
would
I
we
think
place
around
this
6
meeting?
o'clock.
We just move it later in the day.
Exactly. Yep. So instead of having it early at 10, we'd have it at 6 p.m. so everyone can make it. Yeah.
We can probably meet only when needed. We don't want to make it like a quarterly. Then we are doing meetings for meeings' sake.
Well, here's the thing. The community, what I've been hearing, and this is also true with the RID meetings too, but because they can't pay people overtime for the RID meetings, right? That's why they're held at 9 a.m., right? So for us, I think as Parks and Rec, the community really wants to be involved, but it's really hard for them to be involved given the time of day that we have our meetings. So, and I think we have a lot of strong voices when it comes to Parks and Rec, and that's why this committee was formed, because RID can't handle all of it, right? So I think once every 3 months is doable. I mean, it's 4 times a year. It's not, and it's not like we're doing our meeting plus that, you know, it's not an addition. It's just in lieu of having it at 10 a.m., it would be at 6 p.m.
So same structured meeting.
Correct.
More public.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Just so they
That
can
makes
come.
sense.
Yeah, so it's not an addition. It wouldn't be like 2 meetings a month, because that would be insane. You know, instead of having the morning time, we'd have it in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
May I say something?
Yes.
On the town hall format,
Mhm.
I would suggest focusing on one thing at a time, because then you're gonna start talking about pump track, you're gonna start talking about golf courses and basketball and pickleball, and, you know, I think like, there should, like, when you announce the town hall meeting, it should, we're going to focus, this meeting's gonna focus on golf course, or it's gonna focus on sports course, it's gonna
Right.
focus on.
Our community center.
Yeah, because otherwise, you know, the reason this got formed was because at the RD meetings, everyone wants to talk about all these different things, and it's hard to stay focused on accomplishing a specific thing. Because, I mean, honestly, we've been talking about this stuff for as long as I've lived here.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we
That
started
sounds
coming
great.
here in 97, and luckily in 2004, after they had talked about the playground, how many years they talked about the playground.
It's so funny because they laughed. 2004 was the hit.
That's when they started the playground, though. That's
Yeah.
when they actually built it. Me and my children watched Teddy Blair come with his dozer and doze that hill and made that flat spot. And so it's like, these things have been discussed. And if you do like this town hall where everyone just starts talking about pump tracks and you talk about it, but then there's not an action. And so I feel like this was formed so that action can start being taken.
I like that idea, but I just want to say in our first meeting, I think everyone just needs to be able to say what they want to say. I agree totally. I agree
For the
totally
first
with
one?
you, and you're absolutely right. But on the first time, I just want to have yours open and we'll take whatever goes on because I think that that's a better.
I think we should have public comment.
Then as it evolves, I agree.
Yeah.
And if we
Sport
follow,
court.
the typical limits on input, 3 minutes or whatever per speaker, with a little bit of flexibility. I mean, we ought to. I mean, I would like to see our general typical agenda being followed, and maybe we play it by ear. And we go down and play and we go down.
I think there should be a time limit.
I've been in tough
I think if we set time limits. Yeah. Yeah. So I think if we set time limits on the action, even our action items, like this is how long we have to discuss it, and then I think we'll be in good shape.
Then you get the hook.
But I think the first town hall meeting is going to be long.
No, let's set a precedent that it's not going to be long. Let's
but
keep it.
we do want to hear what people have to say, and it's their first time, so
We do.
you know, I think it is going to be mostly public comment. But then after that, I think we can have a strategic way going forward.
So should I hit the button April 24th? Call it town hall?
Who wants to vote on it?
Oh, sorry.
You can.
I'll vote on it. Oh, I would like to make a motion to have a town hall meeting on Thursday, April 24th. Invite our community and talk recreation.
At 6 p.m.
At 6 p.m. here at the RID office.
I second that.
I'm clicking the button.
Yeah. Are we planning to insure the other recreation stuff that we're putting in?
Like this, does a sport court require insurance?
Yeah, and
Amazing.
also the,
I don't know.
The playground. Because what I just looked up is it could be added on to that insurance as a amendment to the policy.
Yeah, we maintain a list of facilities with our insurance provider and updated as facilities change.
Yeah, so that could be something that could just be amended into a already policy that we already have for the code.
For a slight rate increase.
I do know too, just, you know, probably, and I know I don't want to go home, but this was brought up at the Pioneers meeting last week, and Dina was here, but she left. She said that she submitted paperwork for the grant, and she was supposed to get a plaque made in her honor.
For what grant?
Creating the playground.
Oh.
Also, she said that there was something about the pavers that were supposed to be put around the playground, and it's not being maintained properly, and it wasn't part of the grant guidelines. So she was going to bring it up. I think she probably had business or something to attend to, but I told her I would bring it up at this meeting. I don't know much about this, but I'm assuming you do, or you know more about the playground than I do. But that was just something she asked me to bring up today. So I don't know what was, but if you want to look into that, maybe we can put it on the action items for the next meeting.
What was the paver issue?
I guess there's supposed to be pavers put around the playground for safety, and they haven't been put in. And I guess it's been a couple of years. They were
Not like
supposed to-
people's personalized pavers,
No,
but like a
no.
functional
Right,
paver.
functional pavers. And then she said she was supposed to have a plaque with her name on it because she got the grant. So, okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And thank you. 'Cause I knew that wasn't Pioneer stuff, but thought we could bring it up here. That's all I got. Does anybody else have any unfinished business? No? Okay, this meeting's adjourned.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.